Hello again, YouTube world. This is your British Bangladeshi Dulu here. I'm getting ready to do another reaction video. Again, I've chosen to do another History of India reaction video. It's one of my interests, along with many others, of course. So hopefully you enjoy this one. This is supposed to be the entire history of India in under 10 minutes. So obviously India has a very, very long and vast history, as many of you may perhaps know, and some may not know. So they're going to, hopefully they'll do a really good job of summarising, some 5,000 odd years of Indian, Bangladeshi and Pakistani history. So so hopefully it should be a good video. So we'll get started in a second. Yep, so here we go. Just open the video up and press play. Should be enjoyable.
This is India. This South Asian country is poised to overtake China as the most populous in the world as early as next year. For now, it is still the world's largest democracy. India is home to the highest rail bridge in the world, over 1,000 feet, or around 360 meters above water. It's also home to over 2 million Hindu temples, one of which is the Kani Mata temple, known as the residence of over 25,000 rats, all revered and considered holy. But, more in line with our purposes, India is home to one of the planet's first civilizations. We have found remains of modern humans on the subcontinent dating to around 30,000 years ago, but there is evidence humans migrated there, in phases originating from further west, around 55,000 years back. During the Neolithic, permanent settlements were built in northwest India, near present-day Pakistan. By around 3,300...
It's just, I'm happy they mentioned the name Pakistan there, because many times when we're discussing medieval, in fact Indian history before 1947-48, or when the British left, we're actually talking about India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, and maybe bits of Afghanistan and possibly Nepal as well. So in other words, the Indian subcontinent, it subsumes those, especially those three countries, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, but bits of Afghanistan as well, within the Indian subcontinent. So it's important to make that distinction, that when we talk about ancient or medieval India, we are talking about primarily those three countries. So that's an important distinction to keep in mind.
The first urban cultures would emerge based around the Indus River Valley. This was one of the 6 main cradles of civilization. The ancient Indus civilization, or Harappan, hit its peak around 2500 to 1900 BCE, with its city centers like Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and Dholavira. This civilization is thought to have had a population of over 5 million people. The Indus Valley civilization is notable for its cities, which were some of the largest and most sophisticated of their time. The civilization also developed a system of writing, which has yet to be deciphered. Its possible drought or famine displaced this civilization.
Well, that's very interesting. I'd forgotten about that, the Harappan civilization, or the Indus Valley civilization, had writing, but we haven't deciphered it, which is amazing given the amount of technology we have nowadays and the number of researchers looking into this. Can't wait till the experts do decipher the script, because I think it'll give us an amazing insight into civilizations in India at that time, and also their links to other civilizations in West Asia, Central Asia, and possibly East Asia as well. So that would be an amazing thing when that happens, or if it happens. I'm sure somebody will at some point, God willing, decipher that code and open up a whole world of knowledge that we don't currently know. So that's quite interesting.
As many of their cities were abandoned and eventually replaced by the Vedic civilization. This civilization was located in the same general region as the Indus Valley. The Vedic civilization lasted from about 1500 to 500 BCE. This civilization is to 500. The Vedic civilization.
Idea for modern times as to what we're talking about. If it does go back.
This civilization.
Right, so going back to this map, so I'm just trying to imagine in terms of modern day countries, if you like. I can see Kabul here, so that'll be Afghanistan, probably the north sort of the northern bits of Afghanistan, and this would be roughly, I would say this would be roughly what is Pakistan today, just around about there. Obviously, it won't be exact. I'm not exactly accurate here. I'm no expert. I think that looks like Gujarat, modern day Gujarat. So that would be roughly what would today be called Pakistan, the area I'm circling with my mouse. You've got Afghanistan here, you can see Kabul there, and of course this is in modern India proper, or North India, Northwest India in particular. So just to give some perspective in terms of the modern day countries in that area.
Was located in the same general region as the Indus Valley. The Vedic civilization lasted from about 1500 to 500 BCE. This civilization is notable for its development of Hinduism, which is still the largest religion in India. After the abandonment of the urban Indus settlements, the Vedic culture began to urbanize along northwest India and the Ganges plain, and eventually coalesce into 16 kingdoms and oligarchies called the Mahajanapadas.
So I'm just going to pause very briefly again. So again, giving you context in terms of modern day countries. So Bangladesh, or Vanga as it used to be called, that area, would be, modern day Bangladesh would be roughly this area. I was actually born in Bangladesh. I grew up in England, but I was born there, and so that's where modern day Bangladesh would be, just to give some more perspective. And of course the rest of it here is all North India, and of course you've got South India, Central India, South India below.
Unlike the Indus Valley civilization, which was fairly egalitarian, there was more hierarchy and income inequality in these new kingdoms. Two newer religious movements emerged from this. Jainism, based on the teachings of Mahavira, and Buddhism, based on the teachings of Gautama Buddha. By the late 300s BCE, one of these 16 kingdoms, Magadha, annexed most of the region, and founded the Mauryan Empire. On paper, they controlled almost the entire subcontinent, minus the very south. One of their kings, Ashoka, was responsible for the spread of Buddhism all across the empire. During the Mauryan rule to the north,
not quite sure where they get these pictures from, since we don't know what they actually looked like, or what Ashoka the Great looked like. So it's always interesting how they show you pictures, made up pictures, without actually showing you what they really looked like. So who knows what he actually looked like? Well, there you go.
South India would be ruled by the three crowned rulers, or three Tamil kings. They traded extensively with neighbors to the southeast, and as far as Rome. By the early 300s, the Guptas forged an empire in northern India along the Indo-Gangetic plain. They brought in a golden age for India, reforming and renewing Hinduism, leading a growth of culture visible in their architecture and art. It was a period of literature, and progression of science, astronomy, and mathematics. India would be the world's largest economy for almost 2,000 years. The Gupta Empire would dissolve by the mid-500s during a barbarian invasion, ending India's classical age. Early medieval India would be split up into numerous rival areas and dynasties. Three of the largest would be engaged in the tripartite struggle.
Why doesn't every home in the...
Sorry about that, we got interrupted by some adverts, so we shall carry on.
Three of the largest would be engaged in the tripartite struggle, a war for northern India. By the 900s, the Pratiharas took full control of the city of Kannauj. In the south, the Cholas gained prominence, exerting influence on Sri Lanka and other islands in Southeast Asia. Merchants traveled from India all over the Indian Ocean. Around the year 1000, during India's late medieval period, Muslim nomadic clans from Central Asia began raiding the north. They took over the northern region by 1206, establishing the Delhi Sultanate. After raids to the south, they also gained control of most of the subcontinent. But they allowed most of the local population to keep their own traditions. During the Mongol invasions, the Delhi Sultanate fought off the Mongols, but failed to keep the south, as the native Indian Vijayanagara Empire was formed by 1336. Modern warfare fell upon the Delhi Sultanate during the modern period. By 1526, they were subdued by other Central Asian raiders, this time using gunpowder. These new Muslim rulers then established the Mughal Empire. To quell rebellion, they allowed some natives to join the administrative class. The Mughals were inspired by the neighboring Persian culture, resulting in Persianized architecture and giving the emperor a divine status. Because of the period's relative stability, art flourished once again.
Yes, I'm not quite sure where they got that idea of that the emperor, the Islamic emperors had divine status. I don't think that's accurate at all. Obviously, Akbar the Great did try and find his own religion called Din al-Ilahi, which was very heretical when it comes to Islamic beliefs. But as a general rule, no Muslim ruler would ever be considered divine. So I'm not quite sure where they got that from and what the historical evidence is for it. But, you know, people always get things wrong. That's just human nature. So I'm just going to go back. So I thought I'd just put a brief correction in there.
Emperor a divine status. Because of the period's relative stability, art flourished once again, and the economy expanded. Different native groups would form, though, and attempt to take back India from the Muslim invaders. In the Punjab, the Sikh Empire formed, under Ranjit Singh. His army and administration incorporated Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, and Europeans, and was instrumental in fending off invasions from Afghanistan. The Mughals lost most of their power and territory, though, from the Maratha. By the 1700s, trading posts from Europe had been established along the coast. The most prominent was the East India Company, from Britain. Teaming up with a few self-interested locals, the company began military and administrative operations, and eventually, by the mid-1700s, achieved company rule over India. It then continued to subdue other Indian regions for decades.
Just briefly, as I mentioned in another reaction video to Indian history, the reason why the British were able to do this, and in fact previous invaders as well, is that the Indians themselves were divided along religious and especially caste lines. And each kingdom wanted to be powerful and wanted to do down, if you like, the other Indian kingdom. So what do? They side with the invader. And if that happens, it's a classic example of divide and conquer, and that's what all sensible and intelligent conquerors do. They divide and conquer, and that's what really happened in India. Otherwise, a united India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, or what is now Bangladesh and Pakistan, it's impossible to see how anybody could have invaded such a huge landmass with such wealth and so many people. So, constant in Indian history is division and conquest, but not just in India, of course. If you look at world history, it's happened over and over again in various parts of the world. Just, human nature, we never seem to learn our lessons, that unity is more important and division is stupidity. But there we go, we'll probably never learn that lesson. Let's see what happens in the next few hundred years, right? That's human nature.
India was no longer able to sell its raw materials to other nations directly. They were only allowed to supply the British.
Imagine entering your name.
Sorry about that, guys. Back again. We're rudely interrupted again by an advert, so we'll start the video again.
India was no longer able to sell its raw materials to other nations directly. They were only allowed to supply the British. This forced natives to focus on other pursuits, like education and cultural achievements. By the mid-1800s, the East India Company had established a capital at Calcutta and became more involved in affairs. They brought over British advancements, like the railway system and telegraph, but it came at a cost. Land taxes were predatory, and British social reform was seen as intrusive to Indian culture. This prompted the Indian Rebellion in 1857. While it was suppressed by 1858, it caused the British to abolish company rule and take control of India directly, as the British Raj. In 1885, the Indian National Council was founded as a result of nationalist movements all over India, and would continue to grow over the next century.
I may be wrong on this, but I think it was called the Indian National Congress. But then again, I could be wrong on this. Maybe my memory is playing tricks with me. But I think it was called the Indian National Congress, not Indian National Council. But I could be incorrect on that.
During World War I, India was called to fight as a British colony. To stop any insurgencies during this time, the British implemented harsh laws, which were extended even after the war, like the Rowlatt Act, which allowed for indefinite incarcerations and imprisonment without a trial. While nationalism was still on the rise, some worked within the boundaries of the law. Gandhi was known for his non-violent opposition. The 1940s were hard for all of India, as they were forced into World War II. But by 1947, under the Indian National Congress, they achieved independence, resulting in a violent partition of the country, creating two new dominions, the Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. When the East India Company was founded in 1600, Britain was producing just 1.8% of the world's GDP, while India was at 23%. By the time the British left in the 1940s, the colonizers increased their GDP almost tenfold, while India was reduced to a third world country.
That's a very interesting point and something I was aware of before. But again, it's very easy to blame somebody from outside coming in and ruining your country economically and otherwise. But the real criminals, if you like, and the people who are really guilty is those who caused division within India and sided with outsiders to defeat another Indian king. And those are the people who are really guilty, because the strong will always do what they want to do. It's up to others to be even stronger and stay united. And unfortunately, human nature is such that every strong country will always do and always colonize, whether economically or politically or both, those who are weaker than them, who are more divided, and who are not more advanced in terms of their technology, etc., and learning and education. So, it happened, and India was ruined. India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan was ruined, but it's not just the British, the fault of the British. Those kings and emperors within India have a lot to answer for as well, and leaders generally in India.
1950, India was a federal republic. Though losing its status as the world's largest economy, India entered another economic boom during the 90s and is one of the fastest growing economies today. India still has foreign problems with neighboring China and Pakistan, and internally, their rural areas are often living in poverty and with outbursts of violence resulting from the caste system. As the country continues to innovate, though, more and more are moving into an urban middle class and higher standards of living. Almost everyone outside India has enjoyed a Bollywood movie, and their cuisine, Hinduism and Buddhism, are adopted and enjoyed by many in the West. So what's your favorite period of Indian history? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the homepage for the other ongoing series in our collection.
Well, there you go. That's it. That was a good introduction, actually, and a summary of complete history of India. So yeah, it's not bad at all. Let me know what you think of the video and my reaction to it. Please do subscribe if you can, or make a contribution to Coffee. It allowed me to do these reaction videos and more in the future. So thank you so much for watching with me the wonderful history of India in under 10 minutes, and wish you all very well, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye, YouTube world.